Okay, welcome everyone. Principle 4, do what matters. Okay, so before we start, has everyone got a scrap of paper and a pen where you can turn to page 113 in the booklets if that's a spare piece of paper? Please, everybody just write down very quickly, and we'll get back to this. Everybody just write down one thing that you are not currently doing that you know you should be doing. Not what you are doing that you need to stop doing. Don't write that down. Write down something that you are not doing that you know you should be doing. That should take you about 20 seconds because it should immediately pop into your mind. Just write one thing. Okay? We'll get back to that later. Okay. Do what matters. Hayom La'asaysa, we've written in Hebrew, which means basically do it today. Do what matters, I think, is the most descriptive of all of the principles. You could just read the title again, again, again for like an hour. It'd be worth a lot. Do what matters and don't do what doesn't matter. Okay. So the definition is to consistently manage day-to-day actions in alignment with core values and long-term goals. To consistently manage day-to-day actions in alignment with core values and long-term goals, as opposed to being sidetracked by the insignificant, neglecting one's core values and life mission. To be sidetracked by the insignificant, neglecting one's core values and life mission. Now, everybody realizes, obviously, that this principle has to come after last week's principle of know your mission. Remember we spoke about the idea of the ladder and the wall, yeah, placing where which wall do you place your ladder against? Yeah, that's know your mission. That's called leadership. Management now is working out how to climb that ladder in the most effective, efficient, safe, stylish way you can climb that ladder. That's do what matters. Once you've worked out what you need to do, now you need to do it. Okay, now this isn't simple, and the Seven Habits of Highly Effective People was written in like the late 80s, nearly 50 years ago, yeah. Email was just coming into play. Yeah, so Stephen Covey had never heard the words social media. Yeah, he never heard of the word YouTube. He had no idea what we were in for. Yeah. And this habit now, this principle now is just it's just absolutely essential because it's so hard. It's so hard to not get sidetracked by the insignificant and to stay online with what we're here to do. Okay, the affirmations. My daily actions will always reflect my values and draw me closer to my long-term goals and mission. My daily actions will always reflect my values and draw me closer to my long-term goals and mission. Affirmation 2. I refuse to be swayed by the illusion of urgency in unimportant tasks. We're going to unpack all of this, B'ezrat Hashem. I refuse to be swayed by the illusion of urgency in unimportant tasks. Number 3, I confidently and unapologetically say no to distractions, prioritizing and making time for what truly matters. I confidently and unapologetically say no to distractions, prioritizing and making time for what truly matters. Okay, so doing what matters, like we said, is management. And there's a word that I'm going to use that I know everyone hates, but we're going to we'll explain what it actually means. It's much cooler than we thought, I think. The word discipline. Yeah. Everyone put your thumbs up if you hate the word discipline. Anyway, so discipline is actually a nice way of understanding discipline is actually understanding that it means to be a disciple. A disciple of what? This is what discipline is. Discipline means you're a disciple of your mission. Yeah, in Hebrew, you could call it a chassid. You want to be a chassid of something or someone, be a chassid of the reason why you got created. That means you are a devout follower of the reason why you got created. So discipline, although it just sounds like, going, and, like lots of sweating and veins in your head and stuff like that bulging out, yeah? Discipline just means having become completely aligned with and humbling yourself. That's the right word. Humbling yourself to your mission. That's what discipline actually is. Once you're aligned with your mission, you're almost kind of you can't be moved. Does anybody know somebody who usually these people are very wealthy? Yeah. Anybody knows somebody either very wealthy or very holy? Yeah, who is just they're just so focused, not in an annoying way. They're just unmovable. When time's up, they kind of clap their hands and they're gone. They're not they don't just sit there and shoot the breeze. Yeah, you get a minute with them. You get a minute with them. I had the privilege of spending time with Berkowitz, or Yitzhak Berkowitz, Schlitter, who's a big tzaddik, lives near me, and I was filming something for him, and we had literally a 10-minute window. It was like, whatever, from 7:10 till 7:20. We were there at 7 o'clock. Set up at 7:10. He walked in, big smiles, lovely, like not a care in the world, easy going. 7:20, he waved his hand, gone. That was it. 10 minutes from 7:10 to 7:20 and gone. Yeah, that's a man who is a genuine disciple of his mission. He's got his mission clear and he's become completely aligned with it. Now, this is what we mentioned in the last, we didn't speak about it much because it's really, they kind of, these two principles merge with each other, know your mission and do what matters. Everybody remembers we wrote to discover, articulate, and identify with, yeah, the overall mission, etc. And we've explained what identify means. Identify means when your sense of self and X kind of merge with each other. Like when you've identified with a football team and someone next to you says the name of the football team, you turn around as if they had said your name. Identifying with your mission, that is really the very essence of do what matters. Once you've identified with your mission, in a sense, you've become your mission, you've transitioned from what you are to why you are, then you realize how you don't have to be too much involved in time management. Does everybody understand what I just said there? I mean that once you've become your mission, once you've become the why you are, well, how can you be how can you be derailed? That's what you are. You're your mission. If something's not aligned with your mission, you won't have to like check your watch and think, You'll just intuitively realize this isn't aligned with my mission. Why am I here? And you'll say goodbye. So really, these two principles, know your mission and do what matters, merge with each other because identifying with your mission is the way Stephen Covey says it is transitioning from the clock to the compass. See, once you've aligned with your true north, yeah, true north, that's what they call it. I think so, yeah. Once you've aligned with your true north, yeah, now that's your direction. And even though sometimes there's a mountain in front of you and you have to veer west, or even sometimes you might have to veer south for a little bit so you can come back. Assuming that you're aligned with your true north, you're going to be on the way to no matter which way you have to go, as opposed to with the clock where it's I need to do this now, I need to do that now, I need to do this now. So this is really the kind of the very essence of do what matters. Everything else is kind of, we will talk about lots of tips and tricks and kind of hacks as they call them nowadays, but the very essence of this principle is becoming aligned with why you are. And then that will take care of all the scheduling. Not that you don't need a schedule, not that you don't need to be orderly, etc. Not at all. But everything will be kind of influenced very deeply by the fact that you are aligned with who you are. Does that make sense? Everyone understood that? Yeah? Okay, so we're going to talk about how we get aligned with that. Now, why is it that we don't do what we know we should do? Why is it that you know you need to write that email, yeah? You already needed to write it for 2 days, yeah? And you find yourself buying something on Amazon and it taking 2 hours. Why? And everyone's like, yeah, yeah, I'm the same. We're all the same. Everyone's the same. There's no one's exceptional here. Yeah, what is it that stops us from doing things that we know we need to do and doing stupid things instead? Okay, so the way our sages described it was with one very powerful phrase, 2 words, which is called rushtus. Okay, and the sages say that somebody only sins when it enters into him or her what's called a rushtus, which they translate as a spirit of insanity. Okay, I'm not going to get into all the grammar and explain how it is very wonderful and beautiful and fascinating, but I'm just going to give you what it means to save time. Rushtus means identifying with your emotions. Now, usually what happens is people throw their arms up in the air and what do you mean we can't identify with our emotions? You want me to just be a robot? No, 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 not at all, not at all. This is what we mean. Identifying with your emotions again. Remember, identification means when you and X merge. Yeah. So what does it mean that you identify with an emotion? It means that you don't feel like you're having an emotion. It doesn't feel like an emotion is happening to you. You are the emotion. So, for example, when someone gets angry, yeah, why is it like the worst thing in the world to tell them to like relax and calm down? Because you're talking to, generally, most people, you're talking to anger. You're not talking to a person who has anger in them. An enlightened person would say, yeah, if he or she was being accurate, would say something like, you know what, right now I feel like there's a real kind of like a depressed feeling inside me, or I'm feeling like there's an anger passing through, an angry feeling passing through. When was the last time you heard someone speak like that? People say, I'm angry, I'm upset, I'm depressed, I'm etc. etc. Yeah. That means that they've merged with their feeling. They've identified with their feeling. Now, when that feeling says, I don't want to write the email, again, there could be a thousand reasons why you don't want to write the email. But why is it that some people don't want to write the email and they're still able to write the email, and some people don't want to write the email and they just can't do it? They just can't do it. And it will drag on for days because they have identified with the emotion of I don't want to write the email. Now it's like the emotion of I don't want to write the email. How on earth is that going to write the email? It's the emotion I don't want to write the email. There's no way it can write the email. The only way that email can get written is when you turn around to that emotion and you say, listen, I know there's an emotion in me right now that doesn't want to write the email. I need to write the email, so I don't care. I'm going to write the email. That's what Rostus is. That is what the word Rostus, as spirit of insanity, is referring to. And that is one of the most important things that we're trying to kind of rise above in this principle. And what happens, and this is kind of the scary thing, we've called this the ETL, the emotional thought loop. What happens when you've identified with an emotion is that that will produce thoughts. Yeah, thoughts of I don't want to write the email. So you have the emotion that you don't want to write the email, then that starts producing thoughts of I don't want to write the email. And what do you think those thoughts start producing? More of the emotion of I don't want to write the email, which produces more of the thoughts that I don't want to write the email, which produces more of the emotions that I don't want to write the email. And that's why it's called the emotion thought loop. Now, I just used email, not wanting to write an email as the example there, but you could fill in the blank with anything. So this is what we're up against. We're up against not emotional thinking. Yeah, that's usually quite destructive, but we're up against emotional identification. We're meant to have emotions, we're meant to have deep, visceral, passionate, dynamic, alive emotions. That's what energizes us, yeah. But we have to be able to say when those emotions are not helping us, we have to be able to pull back and say, okay, I hear, I see, and okay, einachinami, as we'd say. In any case, I'm still gonna write the email. This being able to distance yourself from emotions is incredibly important. It's one of the things that is we're putting out this book. We put this book out called Reclaiming Sanity that I've mentioned to you a few times. We're now in the next couple of weeks, we're putting out its new incarnation, which is going to be called Quiet Mind, and that is going to be extremely helpful for people, even though Reclaiming Sanity is also very helpful. But I just as a it needs deep awareness, which doesn't come quickly. That comes from practice and learning. But just if you want to take a quick kind of hack and a takeaway from this class, is never again say I am angry. Say I feel anger in me, or there's anger passing through me, or I'm having an angry experience right now, etc., etc. Start using those terms. That will put you in a really powerful position. It makes such a difference. Can't tell you what a difference that makes. Just to reframe it, it sounds like semantics. It really isn't semantics. It gives you a much stronger chance of being able to kind of rip yourself out of the usual craziness that we're stuck in. Okay, so this is very exciting. Has anybody here heard of the important urgent matrix? Anybody's heard of the important urgent matrix? Put a thumbs up. No, a couple of you. Okay, so Mrs. Abramov, how you doing? Abramov, nice to see you. So yeah, I feel very honored to give this over because it's just so important. It's so important. We'll pull up the graphic in a minute. Let's just try and unpack it quickly. There are things that are important and there are things that are urgent. Oh, and then this one, I put my hand up a minute. Things that are important and things that are urgent. Can I just ask everybody to write in the chat what it means, the definition of something that is important? When I just said there are things that are important and urgent, I think urgent kind of speaks for itself. What does it mean important? What does it mean that something is important? Needs attention, something that has to be done, necessary, goals, need, priority, front of mind, something you value and has value. That's good. Important to your mission, exactly. Okay, so everyone's kind of around it, some closer, some not as close. Important means aligned with your mission. So important is, I mean, there are certain things that are, that are objectively important, but there are going to be things that are important to me that aren't going to be important to you, and there are going to be things that are important to you that aren't important to me. Okay. Urgent, on the other hand, is something that, well, it's from the word urge. There's an urge. There's an urge to do it. So now we're going to, let me open this matrix up and I'll show you. Share screen. Okay, can everyone see the do what matters matrix? Everyone sees that?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, so we've got it's a quadrant. So we've got zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, zone 4. I should have written the axis here. This is well, we've got things that are important and urgent. Okay, and we'll unpack all this. This is the main part of the class. We've got things that are important and urgent. Yeah, that's called the crisis zone. Then we have things that are important and not urgent. That's called the impact zone. That's zone 2. Zone 3 is urgent and not important. That's called the distraction zone. And then not important and not urgent. That's called the nothing zone. We went a little bit further and we wrote down what's called the destruction zone, but we're not going to talk about that too much. But we could make a case for this 5th zone that isn't really nice to talk about. But anyway, let's talk about it. So what does it mean that it's important and urgent? Okay, important means, like we said, it's aligned with your values, your mission, etc. Yeah. Urgent means there's an urge. It means it's working on you. From the word urge, yeah. For example, someone breaks their leg, a family member, a close family, a child breaks their leg. Yeah. That is important and urgent. And that's called a crisis, meaning that has to be taken care of. By definition, that has to be taken care of. It will actually take care of itself. Okay. It will take care of itself, meaning like a broken, like a burst sewage pipe in your front room. Yeah. In a sense, I mean, I know you have to deal with it. Yeah. But it will get dealt with. Everything else we put to the side, it will get dealt with. So that's important and urgent. Okay. Zone 2 is the zone that we want to be finding ourselves in the most. The more put together a person is, the more time they spend in zone 2, which is called the impact zone. That's things that are important and not urgent. For example, exercise. Exercise is not urgent. Yeah, you've never heard. I mean, that once you really get into exercise, then it does kind of become a little bit urgent. But it's something that, unless you are extremely proactive, and here's the key word, you schedule it, yeah, it won't take care of itself. It's not like a broken leg. It's not like a burst water pipe. Okay, exercise is something that you have to proactively schedule into your daily, weekly schedule. Otherwise, it won't take place. Is it important? Absolutely. So it's not urgent, but it is important. Okay, and that's the impact zone. Um, Eating healthily, spending time with your family, learning Torah, all of these things that don't work on you but are aligned with your core mission, that's called important and not urgent. Okay, urgent and not important. Anybody want to write in the chat what they think is something that's urgent, not important? I've got a great example that happened to me this week or last week. So I'll tell you my example that happened to me last week that everybody will be able to relate to. I kind of mentioned it anyway. I'm going to turn off the I'll turn off the graphic. We can see this anyway. Yeah. So I went away with my kids a couple of weeks ago. Went to India for a week. Okay. And I had a backpack and I couldn't find my backpack, so I borrowed somebody else's backpack. And and it was a cool backpack. So I'm back in the office. I had to give that backpack back, and I had a lot of stuff to do, and I found myself on Amazon for probably over an hour researching backpacks to buy. I just gotten back from my holiday. Yeah, I'm not planning on going away for another year. Yeah, and I'm sifting through. I'm comparing, contrasting how big it is, where the zipper is, if it's got buckles with the thin. I know this all so well, and I'm sitting there thinking, Diamond, what are you doing? This is ridiculous. This is really urgent and absolutely unimportant. And I've got all these important things that are sitting there at the mercy of this duffel bag that I'm, fantasizing over that I don't even need for another year. Yeah. Everybody could that I think instead of calling it the distraction zone, I think we could relabel it the Amazon zone. Yeah, I think that is basically what Amazon is. Amazon is basically urgent and not important. Yeah, just like the news. Yeah. Now this is a very important idea, and this is really kind of scary, but it's very true. Is that when you crank up the urgency enough, it gives the illusion that it's important. That's what the news is. Okay. I remember as a kid, yeah, at 10 o'clock, Dad, it was the 10 o'clock news we used to watch. So at 10 o'clock, the house kind of stops. And it's like, and now it's different because the internet and stuff, you get news every second. Yeah. But when I was a kid, it was the 10 o'clock news. And it was like we felt we were doing something important. it was like it was worth not answering the phone, or things would go on hold. Why? Because you've got that powerful music, and then you have the clock that goes tick tick, and then it goes bong, like a big bong, and then the camera spins around. You've got that really like important serious man with the chiseled face looking straight into the camera with the light and the flash and what they do, and this is what the news does, and even more so nowadays, yeah, is they just crank up the urgency more and more and more, and then it makes you feel like you're doing something important. That's a really, a really important thing to know, because it doesn't make it important. Just because it feels urgent, it does not make it important. Okay, then you've got the nothing zone that you could probably call the YouTube zone. Yeah, there's not really an urge, but you just fall in. What they say, you fall down the YouTube. Yeah, you just fall in, and it's just nothing. It's just nothing. You could argue that you're watching this, you're watching that, but generally it's completely a waste of time. In the best case scenario, it's a waste of time. Usually it's worse than that. Um, but this is an important idea. The impact zone, if we spend more time in the impact zone, which is zone two, if you want to look at this while we're speaking, it's on page 103 in the book. The more time we spend in the impact zone, the smaller the crisis zone becomes. For example, the impact zone would be, let's say, eating healthily and taking exercise as an example. Yeah. The crisis zone would contain things like, health complications, urgent health complications that you have to take care of. The more time you spend in zone two, the more zone one will become smaller and smaller and smaller. And our goal as effective people who are desirous of living a blessed life is to try and find ourselves almost exclusively in zone two, the impact zone. When you need to step into zone one, yeah, the crisis zone, well, you have to do that anyway, yeah. Zone three, the distraction zone, we need to cut out. Zone four shouldn't even be in our minds as an effective person. And that doesn't mean if you need a timeout, sometimes you've had a really crazy day, you don't want to waste time on YouTube, and instead you want to buy something on Amazon and really jump in. Yeah, that would be considered the impact zone in a sense. Because if you're doing it for a constructive purpose, you just need to take a time out, and you don't want to watch something stupid on YouTube, and you need to buy this thing anyway. So you think you're going to invest an extra 20, 30 minutes into actually getting the right thing. Yeah, well, then you're actually helping yourself relax, and you're bringing your brainwaves down, etc., etc. Yeah, then that would fall into the impact zone. So an effective person, yeah, finds themselves almost exclusively in the impact zone. Another example of the impact zone um, would be um, um, kind of templating and ordering for your business. If you have a business, yeah, to create templates and stuff. Like, for example, a lot of people are happy writing out the same email again and again and again and again and again, where if you just take out an hour, yeah, nowadays with AI, you could do it much quicker, but take out an hour to write the email, or to set up nowadays to set up the GPT where the email will respond as an autoresponder. That's an extremely intelligent zone two activity. Yeah, which means instead of now having to spend 10 minutes writing this email all the time, you've taken out 1 or 2 hours to create a template that will do all the emails in future. Yeah, that is a very intelligent zone two activity. Okay, you can fill in the blanks. Okay, well, so what's the destruction zone? The destruction zone, very quickly, is in a sense a punishment for not taking care of the crisis zone. Yeah, the destruction zone is like beyond the crisis zone, where it gets almost impossible to get out of it. Addictive behaviors and things that are very you can read it yourself on page 103. Don't want to dwell on that. But anyway, so that's the do what matters matrix. Can we just ask everybody the thing that you excuse me, one moment. Sorry about that.
I have a question. Is that okay?
Yeah, go for it.
quick question. So, I mean, you mentioned about YouTube. What if you're looking at specific, knowledge-driven videos that will enhance, for example, even this course you're researching? So, I'm just posing that as
Yeah,
a
then that would be impact. That would be
okay,
impact. Yes,
okay, okay.
unless unless
Just want to make
somebody
it clear.
had their leg cut off and you're working out how to do a how to do a what's that thing called where you tie it, whatever. Then that would be a
Tourniquet,
crisis zone thing. What's it called?
tourniquet.
Totally, yeah, that would be a quite so again, like we said, this it's kind of there are objective things, yeah, like watching cat video.
Sure.
I mean, even watching stupid things on YouTube at the end of a long, hard day where you just want to just mong for like 20 minutes, half an hour, that would be considered impact zone. So it could be that you're watching, you know, I don't even everyone can fill in the blank. Look at your own YouTube history. Okay, can everyone just quickly write down in the chat, if you don't mind, what you wrote down at the very beginning of the very beginning of our class today? If you were here at the beginning, we asked you to write down the one thing that you're not doing right now that you know you should be doing. Physical therapy, investments, clean up, exercise regularly, daven every day, exercise, going to sleep on time, focusing, proper sleep schedule, read Parsha, retirement fund, pursuing my dream occupation, cannot recommend reclaiming sanity enough. Visiting my kids more, correct observance of Shabbos, seriously, teaching daughters. By definition, I put myself out on a line a lot of times in this class and I ask people to say stuff, yeah. By definition, if you feel that you should be doing it and you're not doing it, it falls squarely in the zone two. It's going to be of the impact zone by definition. Everything that everyone just wrote falls squarely into zone two. Something that you feel that you should be doing that you're not doing. Yeah. So this is where we need to spend our time. This is where we need to kind of put our focus. Okay. So this is what Stephen Covey refers to, and we'll send out in the seeds. You'll see this a little bit more. The concept of big rocks, small rocks. Okay, big rocks are the important mission-based activities that we need to be doing. Okay, like what am I doing right now? I'm doing so many things. Building out my living the life course. Okay. Now I could be getting distracted by doing this and doing all kinds of different things. Yeah, but creating this living the life course, which is like the second part to the blessed life. Okay, I've got all my energies in that right now. Um, and that's in a sense my big rocks. I've got lots of emails coming in throughout the day and WhatsApp messages and stuff like that. And then I've got little errands that I need to run and all kinds of other small stuff. Yeah. Those are called the little rocks. Now, what Stephen Covey shows you, I'm not going to show you now, but like I said, in the seeds, you'll see this, is he gets this jar of this jar, and he's got these big rocks, and then he's got a bunch of gravel, and then a bunch of sand, and he even has a couple of beers. This isn't Stephen Covey, a different guy. And he shows you that if you put in first all the sand and then all the gravel, the big rocks don't fit. Whereas if you put the big rocks in first and then you put the gravel and give it a little shake, then you put in the sand, the whole lot fits. And I can tell you from my experience, and everyone knows this, you don't need me to tell you this. Everyone knows that if you put in the big rocks first, you always get the little stuff done also. Yeah. And if you don't, it's not such a big deal, but you always do anyway. The big rocks need to go in first. The big rocks need to go in first. You should schedule your day around the big rocks. Yeah, the big things that you need to do, get them out the way first. Okay. And really the way we really want to be planning our week. I'm not Stephen Covey got deeply into this idea of the weekly planner, but I never related to it very much. And I don't think many people, especially in our generation, relate to it so much. So I'm not going to talk about that much. But the idea of having a weekly, as everyone does basically, a week to schedule around the week, yeah, as opposed to around the day. I mean the day also, but in context of the week, yeah, it gives you a very kind of it gives you a holistic, if that's the right word. That's not really the right word, is it? it gives you a big picture. Yeah, you need to have a bigger picture. To have a bigger picture than that, we're not going to get into that right now, but that's the idea of the big rocks, small rocks, which another way, in a sense of saying it, is in my house, we have this phrase, yeah, long road, short road. Okay. In my house, one of the kind of philosophies that I've tried to imbue my family with is this idea that we summarize in 4 words: long road, short road. We want to always be thinking long road, short road. An example of long road, short road on a very kind of mundane level is backing into a parking space as opposed to going straight into a parking space. Why? Because it takes a little bit of extra effort to back in, but when you go out, it's quicker. Yeah, another one on a very funny level is if you go into the mikveh, yeah, and you take off your flip-flops, whatever you call them, and you turn them round. So when you come back out or when you go into bed, yeah, you put your slippers the right way so that when you come out of bed, you put your feet into the slippers as opposed to have to turn them round. Everyone's with me? That a more a little bit more of a kind of a little bit of a more important example is on Motzi Shabbos, yeah, the chillum pot, yeah, where it's now 10 o'clock at night and you're really tired and the chillum pot is sitting there in the sink and you've got two options: either you clean it or you leave it. If you clean it, yeah, that's going to be you know 3.5 minutes of annoyingness, and then the next morning, it's done. That's called long road, short road. Or you can take the short road, long road. The short road is, I'll deal with that tomorrow. Yeah. And then the long road is 15 minutes tomorrow morning with the hot water and the scrubbing and the whole thing. Yeah. That's called short road, long road. So that's a kind of a mindset that I'm always looking for long road, short road. If there's short road, short road, I'll take that one as well. But I'm never ever looking for short road, long road. And you'll be amazed once you've kind of become that way of seeing things, it's amazing how micro that plays out on, what kind of levels that kind of thinking plays out on. And on a macro level, that means that your business becomes templated, systemized. It means that you're in a good place with your kids because you're investing time into the relationship and with your spouse, with your friends, with your parents, whoever it is. Yeah, it means that you're giving to the community. And all of these things could be summarized in that idea of long road, short road, which is really, again, another way of just describing the impact zone, zone two. Okay. Everyone's good? Yeah? Okay. So now we're going to get very kind of very what's the word? Hands-on. Okay. I see. Gonna get very hands-on. So all of this is written at length on page 105 and onwards, okay? But we're going to go into this. This is hands-on. It's very hands-on, and it needs to be hands-on. Okay, so I'm going to try and give as much time as I can to each of these ideas. These ideas are all, I've been reading all of this stuff from dozens of books over the past couple of decades, and I've like tried everything, and these are the things that I'm like, these are what I really, this works, okay, for me anyway. So I'm gonna, okay, first things first. Yeah, this is the most important thing that I know about doing what matters is you have to start your day with a proactive action, which means, and this is the hard bit, is your day cannot begin. Your day cannot begin by looking at your telephone. It can't begin by looking at your telephone. The more time you can put between when your eyes open in the morning and from when your eyes fall on your screen, yeah, the better. There has to be, and I mean, I don't really fall prey to, I don't have a smartphone, so I don't look at my phone when I wake up. But like when I get into the office now, yeah, I still have a struggle with if I'm gonna do what I need to do, or I'm gonna check my email or my WhatsApp, whatever it is, yeah. Still have a struggle with that. And I know that if I fail and I check my email, I check my WhatsApp before I get something done, my whole day looks different. It sets the trajectory of the day. it sets the trajectory of the day. I can't stress that enough. When you open up your phone, yeah, your phone is by definition a passive experience. You react. Someone says this, someone says that, this is telling you this is telling you that. Whereas when you wake up in the morning, if you have something set to do as a frum man, you go and pray shacharis. That's quite helpful. Yeah, that's something you do. But something in the house, you could tidy something. You could make the lunch. When you go into the office, make sure that you have something to do as opposed to become passive immediately. It literally sets the trajectory for the whole day, and that is the most important thing I can tell you in regards to doing what matters. Is start your day by living life as opposed to being lived by.
Well, I didn't get Tally to either. But it's not like bad, it's Jewish video.
No, we'll discuss
Wait a
it.
minute, I need to
We'll
quickly
later.
do.
Oh, this is Daniel.
That's my cousin, my nephew. Sorry. Okay, so that's number one. Okay, start the day with a proactive act. Number two is there's what we call in Torah, there's what we call kovea itim, and kovea shiurim, which means in English setting times and setting measurements. It's not a good way of saying it. How do you say shiurim? Setting measurements. I'll explain. You can fill in the blank. Okay. Quotas. That's it. Setting times and setting quotas. So in context of, let's take it out of Torah just to make it relevant to everybody, but it's highly relevant to Torah, learning Torah. This would be, for example, in my work as a photography teacher, okay, setting times would be me saying something like from 9 o'clock a.m. until 10 o'clock a.m. I am just going to critique. I'm going to do critiques for my students. That's it. Yeah. That's setting times. Okay. Setting quotas would be today I'm going to or between 9 a.m. and 12 p.m. I'm going to critique 4 students' work. I'm going to critique the work of 4 students. That would be a quota. They have pros and cons. Okay, I'm not going to get too much into that, but you have to work out. Some people work better on quotas, some people work better on times. But again, you have to make things very delineated. It has to be very specific. The minute it's not specific, yeah, like you don't like I'm gonna do a lot of critiquing today. Yeah. That's not worth as much as saying I'm going to get 6 critiques done, and then I'll write out a little grid of 6 and I'll make sure that I check off each grid as I do it. Or I'm working from 9 till 10:30 without interruption, phone off, etc., etc. Yeah. So I'll just give you a quick story of what I did when this happened a few years ago, and I still to this day it worked great. One of my online businesses, I had when you have an online business, yeah, you have like the graph. Yeah, anyone has an online business. Yeah, you have your graph, yeah, where you think it's difficult to not check if you've got likes on your Facebook posts, yeah, or on your status for WhatsApp. Try not to look at your graph where you get every time it pings, you get $500. That was $500 someone just gave to you. Yeah, it's almost impossible to not look at that the whole time. And that was what happened to me. I just couldn't. I probably looked at it 200-300 times a day. It was driving me crazy. And I couldn't, because you have to look at it, you have to occasionally look at it, but it was dry. So it took me years, and I came up with this idea. I said to myself, you know what, Diamond, you're not allowed to look at the graph while it's light outside. Only at nighttime hours can you look at the graph. Yeah. And it cured me. It literally cured me. I can't even look at it now in the day. I don't look at it anymore. But it cured me. Why? Because it was definite. It was absolutely definite. There was no wiggle room. It was not like I'm going to try my hardest to look at it less. It was a clear. So there's this the twilight zone. There's dawn and dusk where I'll give there's a little bit of leeway. Yeah, but otherwise, it's just clear. You don't look at it when it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. You don't look at it when it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Oh, it's 8 o'clock at night. It's the winter. You go ahead and look at it. Yeah. So making things very delineated is a super, super helpful. I can't stress how absolutely helpful that is. Okay. Yeah, set yourself up for success, meaning if you can put a little bit of distance between you and, for example, YouTube, yeah, or if you can get rid of these, I mean, everyone knows it, get rid of the notifications, get rid of the apps that suck away all your time, etc. Yeah, block certain websites, whatever it is. Yeah, but even see with YouTube, yeah, and I'm kind of lying right now because I have YouTube open because I'm trying to create this class. It's been open for a few months and I hate it, but I kind of need to make this class. But what I did with YouTube, I actually have the instructions on page 109 for you, is I blocked YouTube by using it really doesn't take very long to do it at all. But it's not like a block where basically it's a block where in about 20 seconds you can unblock it. That 20 seconds distance between you and, for me, it was YouTube, whatever your blank is. Yeah. If you can just put 15 to 20 seconds between you and that thing, you will end up saving yourself hours and hours of your life. That's all it takes. So create, in that sense, set yourself up for success, create a work environment or a learning environment, whatever it is, where you've stripped away as many distractions as possible, and you've made it, you've made it a beautiful place to be. You've made it a relaxing place to be. Have some incense, have some nice music, whatever it takes, have water available, have some snacks available, whatever it is that you can set yourself up for success. That's a very helpful, another helpful piece of advice. Make it rewarding, meaning, in a sense, give yourself a pat on the back. Now, like this, I mentioned to you before that when let's say I need to do 6 critiques, yeah, or 4 critiques, I'll take myself a scrap of paper and I will go like this. I will draw myself that, and believe it or not, the act of putting a check in those boxes is a reward. Your body relates to that as a reward. It sounds funny, but that is a reward. And when you finish the final box, yeah, and you look at that and then you tear it up and throw it away, yeah, that feels like some kind of reward. That helps. It helps when you see some kind of, what is it? Some kind of quantum, you see it quantified. Like my wife, when my wife's cooking for, I'm sure most women relate to this. When my wife's cooking for a Yom Tov or something, yeah, and I'll come home from work, she'll say, "Shmuel, look what I've made," yeah, and she'll take a lot of pride in the fact there's just so much stuff to look at. We work like that. We like to see the accumulated, products of what we've invested ourselves into. So that again, there's lots of other kinds of awards and stuff. You can think of this yourself. I'm just giving you the ball. You should run with it. But okay, break it down now. Okay, I'm going to explain this to you in regards to a project that I've been doing now for years with a bunch of other people. Actually, 1 minute. Yeah. So one year I decided that I was going to learn. This is a book, the 39 Malachas. It's a big fat book and it's 4 volumes. Most people know this book, yeah? 4 volumes. And I wanted to get through, I wanted to learn through all of the laws of Shabbos. But it's like a 1,600 page book with all the volumes. And what do? You say, well, I'm going to learn a bit every day. So what I do, and I've done this now for even bigger projects, is I sat there for a few hours one time, if you can see. Yeah, I sat there for a few hours. Well, it probably takes, nowadays it takes me about an hour and a half or something to do it with whatever project I do. And I've done, a dozen big projects nearly in this way. And I go through, the way I work it out is I work out how many days of the year, there's 360 days of the year, let's say. Okay, and I count the amount of pages there are of the book, 1600 pages. I take my calculator and I do 1600 divided by 350 equals 4.57, so 4.6. Yeah, and then I just go through the book and I just every 5 pages or so, when there's a good place to stop, I make a note and I create a Google Doc, and then I write. If you can see this. Yeah. And so it has the pages that I need to do every day. It's around 5 to 6 pages. I have, and Simon can give me a thumbs up for this. And I don't know anybody else here. I know that there's a lot of people I've sucked into all these projects now, on my dad as well. So it's not in the focus, but yeah, there's a lot of people who I've managed to suck into these projects, and we have completed massive learning projects with this technique. Everyone, it's like a foolproof method, basically. Like it's really good. Now you can fill in the blank if you want to learn any other book. I did it with Torah, but if there's any other thing that you want to learn, yeah, you can take whatever you want to learn, strategize, plan that year. I want to get through 3 books on psychology this year, yeah, which is what another project I'm doing right now. Take the 3 books, yeah, count the amount of pages, work out the amount of days, yeah, divide it, and sit there for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and do it. How, think of how many hours and a half or 2 hours do you waste a week, yeah? So do this. You set yourself up for tremendous success. It's amazing how good an idea this is. It's on page 107. And if you want, you can let me know, and I'll send you the raw file that will help you do it yourself if you want. But anyway, there's another idea. Again, everything's written here, but so you can read it up again, because I know it's kind of going in one out the other. However, this is another very, very helpful thing to know about, which is called habit stacking. Okay, so I took on one year, I took on to learn through Pirkei Avos, which is a tractate in the Mishnah. I wanted to learn through Pirkei Avos 48 times in the year, yeah? And I worked it out that basically it's 6 chapters. So every week, if I learn 6 chapters, meaning basically a chapter a day, and take a day off on Shabbos. Yeah, sounds like a great plan. And I started doing it, and it was a nightmare. For like the first month or so, I was having to sit there on Shabbos for like an hour on missing, and I just couldn't. I was constant. It was driving me mad, and I was running after my tail. And then I said, you know what I'm going to do is I took each chapter. Yeah, there's 6 chapters. I took each chapter and I divided it into 3, not equal parts, and I'll explain to you in a minute. Again, I'm just trying to give you ideas here. So the first, let's say it's 20 Mishnahs. So the first breakdown would be 10 Mishnahs, then say 6 Mishnahs, then 4 Mishnahs, let's just say. And what I did is I worked out something that I do every day without fail 3 times a day, which is I pray. I go to shul and I pray Shachris, Mincha, and Ma'ariv. So what I did was then I attached that learning to my Shachris, Mincha, Ma'ariv. At the end of Shachris, I would learn those 10 Mishnahs. It would take me about 3 minutes, maybe 4 minutes. And the reason why I did more at the beginning was because at the beginning of the day, there's a little bit more energy and more time. And by Ma'ariv nighttime, you've already got no energy. So I only had 4 Mishnahs. The minute I did that, it was done. I did my project for the year. It was so easy. So find whether some people have coffee religiously at 10:30 a.m. every day. Yeah, some people religiously go for a walk at 2 p.m. whatever you do religiously, yeah. Take it and attach something to it, and that thing that you attach to it, there's a good chance you'll get it done. Great piece of advice, that. Okay. Yeah, this is a very important idea, is don't fear pressure. Okay, it's not that we don't want pressure in our life, it's that we want to be able to deal with pressure. In Hebrew, the word lachatz, which means pressure, and hatzlacha, which means success, have got the same root. You need pressure to be successful. You need to create a sense of urgency. You need to create your own sense of urgency. Okay, so it's not about not having pressure, it's about being able to cope with pressure. That's a very, very important idea. Okay, so our goal is not to release ourselves from pressure. Our goal is to work out how to manage pressure, which means basically you can learn how to manage pressure from Yechezkel, who is the man who owns the Marcolet, like the corner shop down my road, on a Friday afternoon. Yeah, this man, I think he's 60, he's 65, mid-60s. Yeah, I don't think he's taken a day off. He's, whatever. The guy works in this little shop that is just, I can't be in there for more than like 3 minutes, put it that way. Yeah, he's there on a Friday afternoon. He has 100 people holding things, all sizes from like 3 years old until like 80 years old, holding different stuff, saying Chezkel, 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 and he's just like Daka, Shnia, no, Shnia, Altizu, and he just stays in his focus zone, and everything else just gets muted. That is how you deal with pressure. You can't let go of the pressure. You don't want your customers to walk out. You just need to know how to put them on mute. That's the goal. So the goal is not to have pressure. The goal is to have pressure, just to be able to work out how to deal with it. With no pressure, nothing's going to get done, and nothing big will get done. You have to create that sense of urgency. Okay, that's Do What Matters, I hope. Let's listen to our song. This is a cute song.
The world's a busy place and there's parts moving, but I won't be distracted. I'll keep on improving. I'll do what matters, cause I've become my mission. Each step forward with care and precision. If it's important and urgent, it'll get itself done. If it's only urgent, then it's just for fun. Not this, not that, I promise to decline. But important, not urgent, that's where I shine. I'll do what matters, stay steady and strong. Each step I take moves my mission along. Not swayed by the urgent, nor pulled by the loud. I'm one with my purpose, my creator is proud. I'll confidently say no if not aligned with my goal. I'll stay true to the fire that burns in my soul. Big rocks, gravel second, I'll stay on course, I'll be a legend. My urgent voices, flashing lights. My false importance steals my sight. But I won't fall for empty claims. I know what matters, I won't play games. If it's important and urgent, it'll get itself done. If it's only urgent, then it's just for fun. Not this, not that, I promise to decline. But important, not urgent, that's where I shine. I'll do what matters, stay steady and strong. Each step I take moves my mission along. Not swayed by the urgent, nor pulled by the loud. I'm one with my purpose, my creator is proud. This key's no fate, it's a choice I create. It all unfolds when my mission's got straight. What matters most must lead the way. Not just tomorrow, but starting today. I'll do what matters, stay steady and strong. Each step I take moves my mission along. Not swayed by the urgent, nor pulled by the loud. I'm one with my purpose, my creator is proud. What is the key to say no apology with honesty and modesty. No care for their ideology, and that will set me free.
Okay, that was fun, man. Yeah, Fabian, you wanted to ask something?
Yeah, right. Thank you for your class. Really appreciate your time.
Okay.
Maybe a tricky question, I don't know, but I feel like I have to ask it. So I feel like I was pretty clear about my mission for many years, and I felt very identified with my mission for many years. And perhaps because I didn't manifest it completely, or I didn't hit certain goals, I'm feeling this incredible heaviness, this malaise almost. I know that's an emotion, it's energy, but it's a real thing that I feel like it's hard to. I wrote the eulogy, and that's already helpful to know that there's things beyond my mission that are deeper there. But yeah, I don't know. I guess my question is, how do we deal with this? These levels of resistance that are so strong. Maybe perhaps because you've had a mission for many years that you haven't been able to manifest when it's been clear.
Well, I'm not quite clear. You're saying that you've thought that you had a certain mission, and now you've done all
Yeah.
this like introspection. You feel that isn't really your mission, and that's
No,
less.
No, I still think that's I still believe that's a core part of my mission, but I haven't been able to reach certain goals,
Ah,
manifest in certain ways, and I feel like I'm
okay.
now even though there's a new mission, I feel like, but the old mission is still there also, and it needs to be completed, I feel like.
So then you have to complete it. That
Yeah.
frustration can either paralyze you or energize you. Your frustration is you're on a knife's edge. You could fall one way and become paralyzed, which a lot of people do when they get frustrated, or you can grit your teeth and more than clench your fists, grab a pen and start to write down some kind of plan, some kind of action plan of how you're going to get this done. But don't let it paralyze you. If you feel that it's not worth the energy, then decide no. Like one of the things, I don't know if you're here at the beginning, I mentioned it. I put up on the chat, please a poll of please check if you've done please check this if you've done your eulogy. The first one was I did it. The second one was I've scheduled it. The third was I'm going to schedule it. Then I had a little joke and I wrote like, click this one if you think that maybe it could be possibly that you're going to maybe try to schedule it sometime. And about 10 people checked that, yeah? And that either decide yes or no. Don't take the path of least resistance. Make a decision, yes or no. You can go back on the decision maybe, but don't leave it as like, we'll see, let's see. Make a decision. That will give you energy. I don't know if that was helpful, but if it's worth it, go for it. And if it's not worth it, then say no without an apology and on with the next thing. That's my thoughts.
Right. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Decision making itself is something on its own. Are we going to be talking about it?
I'll spend a minute now. I was explaining this to somebody this week. It's an important idea. This is just a side point. Okay. Anyone who wants to jump out, please jump out. But this is a very helpful idea that I learned. So how do we make decisions? Yeah, you're asking what's like the holy grail to making decisions. So this is the best thing that I've understood is you want to turn down the resolution. This idea of resolution is fantastic. Yeah, this is a whole class in itself. I'll try and say it very quickly. You have an image that is a 60 gigabyte image, tremendous detail. Yeah, it's 500 million pixels, tremendous detail. You can turn the resolution down and down and down and down, yeah, until it becomes an ICO file. An ICO file is the name of the file of a desktop icon. You know the little trash can on your desktop? Yeah, that's called an ICO file, that little picture. Now, if you were to expand that little trash can bigger and bigger and bigger, you would end up just seeing massive squares because it's only made up of like 32 by 32 pixels, like 900 pixels. Yeah. Now you could have that bin, that same image as a 60 gigabyte image, and you could scroll in and in and in, and you could start seeing the fibers, yeah, in the weave of the material of the, you know, you could go into the molecular structure if you wanted, yeah. So that's the same as an idea, yeah. If you're talking about the Israel Palestine question, whatever you want to call it, yeah, you realize that's 80 years of information there. That's a rich, with millions and millions of people involved. That's a very rich idea with lots and lots of intricate detail, yeah. But you can dial down the resolution until you just have the trash can, yeah, just the most basic image, which is accurate. Same with all ideas, yeah. So when you're trying to make a decision about something, the goal is to reduce the idea down to the lowest resolution.
What's the art of lowering the resolution?
That's a really good question. The art of understanding the low resolution is being deeply familiar with the idea. The more deeply you understand the idea, yeah, the lower the resolution you're able to take it down to. But
would be like a number turning it down to the lowest common denominator.
In a sense. And then if you can't make the decision at that point, then add some more resolution. It's like what you want to buy a house, yeah? How do you determine where you're going to buy a house? So you've got the lowest resolution is it needs to be in a certain neighborhood, a certain size, and a certain amount of money. That's the low resolution image, yeah? Now, you've got 4 houses to decide from. Turn the resolution down, and you can now knock out 3 of those options. So now you've got 2 houses left to choose from, yeah? But those 2 houses, they fulfill that low resolution image the same. They're in the same neighborhood, they're the same price, they're the same size. Now crank up the resolution a little bit more. What floor is the apartment on? Yeah, which directions is it open to? So now usually what happens is the resolution messes your head up and makes the decision impossible. But if you've dialed the resolution down very low, then you can add the resolution to help you start knocking out the other options. You with me?
So with a backpack, the zipper, the straps, etc., what would be lowering the resolution? Saying what I don't need?
It needs to be
So when a kid or a wife or a spouse
No.
asks you a business decision to make, sometimes you could think about everything. I want to see all the
That's
fabric
what
and
I'm
the
trying to say. First things first is think about the most fundamental aspects of the decision, which we're calling the low resolution image. If you can't make the decision through that low resolution image, then start to crank up the resolution. But when you start from the beginning with a high resolution image, you're trying to buy a house, yeah, and you don't realize that the most important thing to you is the size, the price, and the neighborhood. And you're thinking about light fittings, the size of the bathroom, the directions, the amount of air available, all of a sudden you've got this crazy, intricate calculation that you're trying to make that is not helpful in any way. We could talk about this for a long time, but that was
values and priorities, I guess, is the answer. Values within
and always try and stay connected to the lowest resolution image and only add resolution when necessary. If you start with a high resolution image, it makes the decision very difficult, very complex. Okay. I think I'm going to go.